Hey guys, it's J Films, and today I'm going to be telling you what every crocheter needs. The shout out for today goes to Lauren Horwit. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this video. So obviously, the first thing that you're going to need is a crochet hook. And crochet hooks come in many different sizes and styles, so you just have to experiment to find the one that's best for you. Now, when determining what size crochet hook to get, whatever yarn you get, usually it will say on the label what size crochet hook is best for that type of yarn. And the larger the size of the crochet hook, the thicker the yarn you can use for crocheting, and then the really thin crochet hooks are for using thin lace. Of course, the next thing you need with crocheting is yarn. So you can get any style of yarn you like, but usually 100% acrylic yarn is the best for crocheting because it shreds the least, and obviously you don't want your yarn to be shredding while you're trying to crochet something because it just makes it so much harder and messier. The next thing I would recommend for crocheters is to get a yarn box. And these are very similar to yarn bowls that you can also get, but I would definitely say that a yarn box is more worth it than a yarn bowl because it accomplishes the same thing, which I will talk about in a minute, but it is bigger and keeps the yarn in better than just the traditional bowl. So what a yarn box is, so it's just a regular box, but on the end it has this kind of a swirl pattern that you can pull your yarn through, and basically the yarn can just stay inside this box while you're crocheting so that it doesn't roll all over the place and get away from you when you're trying to crochet and get all dirty by rolling all over the ground. So it's very useful in that way, and especially a yarn box is better than a bowl if you're using a skein of yarn instead of just a ball of yarn. So the way it works is you just put your yarn inside the box and you find the end of the yarn. You just pull the yarn through this little loop like this. And it should work like that. The next thing every crocheter needs is a set of cushioned grips for your crochet hooks. And they're very cheap and they're very handy if, like most crocheters, your fingers get very sore from the crochet hooks, and it will just help your hands feel better when you're crocheting and prevent those marks from forming on your fingers. With any crochet project, especially when doing amigurumi, whenever you have to weave in the ends of a project or sew something on, you can't always use a regular sewing needle, especially when you're trying to use yarn to sew something. So instead, you need these special yarn needles, which can also be called darning needles or tapestry needles. And they're basically sewing needles with a very large opening in the eye so that you can easily fit yarn through. And these come in plastic and metal. I have a plastic yarn needle that I have used for some of my crochet projects, and they do work, but I would recommend getting metal needles over plastic just because they are sturdier, and the plastic needles tend to bend and be more flexible, which can make it hard sometimes to pull it through the yarn. And you can just get them in a little set like this. This one comes in different types also, with regular yarn needles and also needles that have bent tips, which you should definitely get some of those also because it makes it easier when pulling it through the yarn. The next thing I'm going to show you is very handy for all crocheters, and you should definitely get it immediately. So this is a crochet tool set, and so it comes in this very nice little zippered pouch, which makes it very easy for keeping all of your crochet tools together so you don't lose anything, and also easy for transportation and storage. And inside it comes with pretty much all the crochet tools you'll ever need. So these are all of the crochet hooks it comes with. So it ranges from 0.60 millimeters to 6.5 millimeters. And so all of the crochet hooks on this side are the extremely thin ones for tiny, delicate projects, and then these are the thicker ones for just regular yarn projects. And then inside this little Ziploc, it also comes with a bunch of other handy tools that make crocheting a lot easier. So some of these I'm not fully sure what they are, but I don't use them because I think they might be for knitting. I'm not positive, but I think it said that on the package. And then these right here are stitch markers, and like you might have seen in my video on how to crochet in the round, you definitely 100% need stitch markers when doing amigurumi because they're essential for keeping track of your rounds when the round ends. So they just hook right into the stitch and stay on so that you know when you're finished with a round. And it also comes with there are these needle point protectors which can be helpful. I think it comes with 2 of these. There are these little row counters, which the numbers, you can control them from the sides. And you can keep track of the number of rows that you've completed, and I guess you could also use them to keep track of the number of stitches that you've done too. So it's a good organization tool. And then it comes with these ginormous plastic yarn needles. I think the opening in these are even bigger than my metal ones. There is a gauge measure, so you can see it has some of the markings that a ruler would for measuring, and then there's also these little holes that will match up with your stitch size, and you could use that for counting stitches, I guess, if you lined it up, and also for measuring gauge. There's a few other things in here. So these pins that can be helpful if you're doing amigurumi. These scissors, which you need a good pair of scissors like these for cutting the yarn at the end when you're ending a project. You don't want it to snag the yarn or anything like that. And then there is a tape measure, so you can measure the size of your project. So it's easiest just to get a set like this instead of buying all of those things separately. And it does come with a few other things that, like I said, I don't use because I'm not 100% sure what they are, but I think they're for knitting. If you are crocheting an amigurumi project, then this is a must-have. So this is a set of safety eyes and noses, which you need if you're crocheting a stuffed animal or plushie. So basically this is how you add eyes to your stuffed animal without having to sew anything. So as you can see in this kit, it comes with all different sizes of eyes, so you can choose based on the size of the project that you're making. And so safety eyes, they're basically just these little plastic, almost screw or nail-like things, and you stick them through the head of your project, just in between the crochet stitches, and then they come with these little backings. So you have to put these in before you close up your project. So you stick the eyes in from the outside so that the little circles where you would see the eyes are sticking out, and the little skinny end is on the inside. And then through the inside of the project, you put the backing on so that the eyes cannot fall out, and then afterwards you would close up the head so that they're not visible anymore. And then it also comes with some noses too, in case you want to add a nose to your animal. The last thing that you want to make sure you have, and this only applies to if you're creating an amigurumi project, is to make sure that you also do have sewing supplies on hand. So make sure that you do also have a regular sewing needle. This doesn't have to be a certain size, just a regular one, not a yarn needle. And make sure that you have some sewing thread also. And this is if you are sewing on a mouth or eyes, if you don't have or want to use safety eyes, or if you're just sewing anything on that you don't want to use yarn for, or you're just using regular thread, make sure to have sewing supplies on hand. And also make sure to have some stuffing, or if you don't want to use regular stuffing, you could use rice or beans or foam, just whatever you want to fill your amigurumi project with. Make sure you have it on hand and that you put it in your project before you close it up. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.